Welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. Yes, the weekly show that comes on usually around 3 p.m. on the East Coast. Thank you so much for giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. And this afternoon, I have with me somebody very special. I've had so many of the presidential candidates on in the past. Some of them I've known from the past. They've been on, some not on so recently. But I have a special one today. Someone who's never been on my show before. It's amazing. We have a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party starting early just the way I like it. Absolutely. An entrepreneur, the man himself, Lars Mapstead. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
I am very happy to have you here. And if you want to follow Lars, you can. Facebook, Lars for President, or Twitter, @Libertarian Lars, or go to his website, Lars24.com. And if you're listening to this, Lars is Lars, in case you're listening to this and not watching, even though you should be watching. But that's okay, I don't mind. So, Lars, I have to ask this question. I know that you've been part of the movement for a while. I'm aware of that. You've been part of the party for a while. I'm aware of that too. The issue, though, is there's many ways you could make impact in the movement or even in the party. You're choosing the big one to run for president. Tell me why.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I'm a marketer. That's what my business has been. And I've built a number of businesses with many millions of followers. In fact, many millions of paid subscribers on some of my businesses. And so, marketing is my thing. And one of the things I know about marketing is that when you have an authority, when you're a respected person in your what you're trying to push, people pay more attention to you. Right.
Yeah.
And so essentially, as a marketer, the thing that I saw the best to get my message of liberty out, the things that I am passionate about and care about, was to run for president so that my message would be amplified, so that people would pay attention to me, right? If you're not running for anything, you're just an everyday whatever, and no one wants to pay. You might have the best ideas ever, but no one's paying attention to you. So
I got to tell you, you saying that makes me think about when I ran for governor, right? I was an activist prior to running for governor. And, some people knew who I was, right, here or there. But mostly it was within the liberty movement only. So I was doing a lot of preaching to the choir, if that made any sense, right? A lot of that. But once I ran for governor, I think you're right. I got a bigger microphone. People outside of the party heard me. I think so. Your goal is to move that message of liberty, and you think you can move that across a national stage?
Yeah, the things that I'm passionate about that I want to push, I already noticed that I have a much bigger following and people pay more attention to it. And as time goes on and we're getting more press and more of these podcasts, people are paying more and more attention, right? And it's like one of the things we're going to talk about today, the fair tax, is that's been going on for 20 years.
Yes.
And it really hasn't had a lot of attention. And now suddenly it's going to be, debated in Congress. So it's on everybody's lips and everybody's talking about it. So sometimes it's the long game. They've literally been working on this for 20 years. And finally it's starting to see the light of day, so to speak. And so sometimes you just have to keep preaching the message until somebody hears it, until it finally it finds its time. Right.
Well, the funny part is Josh says Libertarian Party and Green Party need to take advantage of this chaos in Washington, D.C. If you're not early, you're late. See, I think Josh is 100% right on this, right? There is, to your point, they're talking about different things now that they were never talking about before, right? Now they're talking about them. And I love the fact that this is the first time, I got to tell you, since I've been paying attention to libertarian presidential politics since 2012, so about 10 years, almost 12, I've been paying attention to libertarian presidential politics. This is the first time that I've seen so many presidential candidates step out early. And I'm so glad, Lars, that you're doing this early. Josh, you are 100% correct.
Well, Larry, I have to actually give you 100% credit for that, because I was listening to your show about 3 years ago, and you laid out a list of things that you needed to see for a libertarian candidate to be successful. And you said they have to run early, they have to build a team, they have to raise money, they have to get an infrastructure together, they have to show up at the convention with a list of things. And so, you said that, and I was like, okay, I'm early. So I've literally filed 2 years ago now. I've been already at this 2 years. I was one of the first, if not the first, libertarian candidate to file, because I wanted to, since I've never run before, I needed some experience. I needed a long runway to figure this out, right? And so that's been building, and the momentum is building, and I really feel that momentum now. And so we're on the push to do all those list of things that you had recommended in order to be the Libertarian candidate.
Lars, I love the fact that you are openly admitting, as I had to also, right, that as libertarians, as third party in general, but specifically libertarians, we need a long runway. We do. Yep. We can't just, okay, now it's October, I guess I'll run for next month. You know, if I'm some billionaire Republican or Democrat with a massive infrastructure behind me, you could probably play that game. You can't do that as us. You need that long runway for people to take you seriously, for people to get it, for you to, you know, make the relationships that you need so you can get on the right, to your point, to the right podcasts or the right TV shows.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think if you were a person that ran multiple times like yourself, you could get away with starting a little bit later just because you're a known quantity already. People have heard your message before. But if you haven't been on the stage at all before, you need to get out there early so that you can build up that rapport with the media and with the constituents so that they pay attention to you, because you can't amplify your message if no one's listening.
Yeah, agreed. Sean says Josh is correct. Josh, you got everyone's on your side. Josh, you're saying the right stuff, brother. Now is the time for libertarians to shine, especially if they run back with Trump and Biden. I mean, I guess let me ask you, Lars, a little bit off topic, but does it affect how you run or how we should run either way, whether it goes back to the Trump Biden or not, right? If it's whatever, DeSantis and I don't know, Newsom.
No,
right? Whether it's Newsom, DeSantis, or Trump, Biden.
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely does, because one of the things that irritates me so much, and one of the reasons that I'm running, is the lack of choice, right?
Ooh.
And if we're presented with Biden and Trump again, really?
Right.
And so I've been running with this idea that, is this really the best America has to offer? These two guys, really? I mean, I can think of thousands of people that would be more qualified and would run the country better than those two guys. And that's the message, is like, do you really want to be foisted these two guys again? Really?
Right.
I mean, it really is mind-boggling to me that, you know, both of them have really low popularity, you know, as presidents, right? And yet that's what we're going to run again, which kind of speaks to the thing that we're going to talk about later on, which is term limits and ranked choice voting. Because basically, though, without those things in place, this is the kind of system that we end up with. These guys that are not what's best for America, but basically what the parties foist upon us.
Yes. Guys, if you're watching or listening to this now and you're liking what you're hearing, then do me a favor, click that like button. It does matter. Click the like button. And if you think that Lars is going to be the right guy for you, or you want to help him out and get his message out, then do me another favor. Head on over to lars24.com and sign up. If you've got some cash that you think you want to give him, please do so. Donate if you can. $10 a month, $100. You can't give him more than $2,900, so don't get him in trouble. So don't do more than that. But whatever you want, if you want to give him some money, please do so. That'd be great. You can use support, but not only money. Of course, money. Money matters in this no matter what. So if you've got the cash to give, please give it if you can. If you can't, no worries. He needs volunteers also. He needs people to get on his team. As he said, he's already building. He needs people to help out with policy, social media, phone calls, all those things. He needs warriors who can get out there and be the social media warriors and all those things. So if you can help him out, please head over to lars24.com. So let me ask you, you have many issues, but there were three that were kind of at the top of your list. And one of them is ranked choice voting. Tell me why that. I mean, that people are talking about ranked choice voting or RCV a lot now.
Yeah.
Why is that at top of your list?
Yeah. Well, you know, my whole thing about going into politics is, and I said it before, is that I want to have choice, right? I want more choices. And I'm tired of showing up at the ballot and then only having these two things. It's not really a choice. It's like, here's the two people that we've thrust upon you, and now you have to pick, and now you have to pick one of the two. And you know, it's like, no, I want more options. And that's part of why I'm running for president, is to offer another option, to offer another voice, a different opinion, a different path forward than what we've been doing so far, which is not really working. People are pissed off. Americans are pissed off. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian. Well, libertarians are always pissed off, but you get the idea.
That's true. We always are. That's true. Yes.
So, and I mean, and by right we should be, because it's the system doesn't represent us. I've never been represented by either of any party in all of my life of voting. I've never felt like, oh, this presidential candidate finally gets it and wants to do the things that I think are important. That's never been the case, and that's why I'm a libertarian, because I never feel represented. And that's, our government is about being represented, right? And if there is a large group of people, I mean, independents now make up more people in America than the Republicans and the Democrats, right? So if there's a large group of people that don't feel represented and feel left out of the system, how can they participate? How can they, we need to let those people participate and feel represented, because if you don't feel representative, you feel discouraged and hopeless, right? And so
I agree completely.
I want to bring some hope back to the system, right? I want to bring some life to the system where people feel like, hey, you know what? If I vote for this guy, maybe we can change things. Maybe I can get the representation that I want in the things that are important to me.
It's funny. Natalie agrees with you. She says, "That's me. Always has been." So Natalie's on your side. Michael White, who said illusion of choice. Ranked choice voting fixes that. Well, let me talk a little bit about ranked choice voting in this one that I'd like so much, right? The thing I like about ranked choice voting is it takes away the Lars, I love you, but I can't vote for you because then the other evil guy is going to win. So while I love you, I can't let the evil guy win. Ranked choice voting, if you're listening and you don't know what that is, you basically decide what rank each person has. So say there are 3 people on the ballot in the case of presidential election, could be 5, whatever the number is, but in this case 3. You rank the one who you want the most, number 1, and then the one who you would accept, number 2. And if you like all 3, one number 3. Let's say you're a Republican, you don't like the Democrat, but you like Lars number 1. So you rank Lars number 1, and then you're Republican number 2. If Lars wins, your offensive vote has worked. If Lars doesn't win, then your defensive vote has worked against the Democrat. If you're a Democrat, the opposite. You vote Lars first, Democrat second. You don't get the Republican. So either way, you begin to win. That's what I love about ranked choice voting. I think it gives all of us a better chance. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it eliminates the spoiler idea that people are like, well, I can't vote for you because it's a spoil, I'm throwing away my vote, right? Well, now you don't ever have to throw away your vote anymore. You can vote for your R or D, but you can say, you know what, if I can't get my R or my D, then I'll take this other guy because he's better than the R or D that I don't like, right? And so it allows for the system to be more open, to have more choice, which is what I'm really pushing for. And I feel like that's a really big part of it. And also, some of the other benefits of ranked choice voting is that it allows for it makes negative campaigning not as good, right? Because right now, all you have to do is say R bad, D bad, vote for me because I'm the lesser of 2 evils, and you don't have any other choice. So pretty much I'm the guy, right? And so now with this system, it's like, oh, well, the third guy has some good ideas and opinions, and I have to kind of absorb some of those because there's people that are going to vote for that guy right now. And so I need to kind of listen to them, and I need to come up with solutions, because if the third guy or the fourth guy or the fifth guy are offering solutions and I'm only talking negative campaign, people might be like, oh, this guy's solution oriented, I'm going to vote for him instead of the guy that's just always negative, right? And so
there we go.
Yeah, so it adds a little bit of that too.
Patty says, hey, Larry, the algorithms thingy, typed in Lars F and it popped up. Second right after the Fortnite thing. Very good sign. So Lars, you're there. Whatever your marketing online is working. Patty typed you in and you pop right up. So you're winning. Look at that. You're beating the algorithms.
Awesome.
Yes. Ken says, get out there and make some noise, Lars. Let's grow this movement and give people a good choice to actually protect their rights. Look, I know Ken. Ken gets out there too, right? So he's not just talking the talk. Ken walks the walk. I've met him at events. He's out there. He's online. So thank you, Ken. Yes, he's correct. He doesn't just talk the talk. Ken also walks the walk. So I'm glad. He's happy to see you doing it.
Yeah, the thing, just a little plug for all the volunteers that, are in our party, because without all the people putting in the effort, I mean, nobody's getting paid, right? Like, they're showing up because this is their purpose in life. This is the thing that they're passionate about.
Yes.
And I always really love and appreciate people who put in time and effort for a cause that they think is important, right? And that they take time out of their life to do. I mean, I know you put all day long, every day you're working on this, right? It's a super important thing to you, and I know that is the passion for a lot of people, and I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that people put in for conventions, for XComs, for all the behind the scenes work that everybody does. I mean, I think that's really important, and I really appreciate everybody's help on that.
So two pieces on that. One, Patty also says, Lars, as someone who ran around for Bernie and did a lot of things you were talking about, had a bunch of useful ideas. What do you need me to do? How do I get a third party candidate on the New York ballot? Let me cover two of those things. Number one, Patty, I'm going to start working my butt off coming up here to get ballot access for New York State in 2024. So I'll need you to help me out again. Patty, by the way, is in Plattsburgh. That's how I know. So yes, so I will need you when the time comes. I will. We're going to be out there. It's going to be probably April of 2024. We're going to be out there getting names. Yes, I will need you and all your friends to be getting signatures. So, but for that part, for the getting on the ballot, that is going to be in 2024. And I will be reaching out to you and many others to make that happen. If you care about Lars, you can just go to lars24.com and then sign up there to be a volunteer or whatever the case may be. And his people will get back to you and they'll figure out what you can do. So yes, if you want to help out ballot access, and I hope all of you, regardless of whether you support Lars or not, doesn't matter. Ballot access does matter. And I hope that if you're in New York State, you will help me out when the time comes, LarrySharpe.com for ballot access. For Lars, you want to help him out, you can follow him on Facebook, Lars for President, or on Twitter, Libertarian Lars, or go to his website, lars24.com.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, though, go ahead. I'm sorry, Lars, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I've heard that ballot access in New York is going to be particularly difficult this year in 2024. It's harder than it has been. And so I've been kind of looking at the different states that are going to have challenges with ballot access. And I'm interested in helping out in that manner, whether I end up being the candidate or not. I want us to be on all 50 ballots, no matter what.
100%. Yeah. Well, the next thing, though, with that in mind, you talk about all the people who are working and trying to make this happen. We've had a lot of internal battles in the Libertarian Party recently. And, having to kind of heal that wound will also be something. Sam brings up a harsh point. And if you don't want to bring it up, Lars, it may be touchy. So let me know if you feel comfortable bringing this up. But Sam says, will Lars promise to not bend the knee to the woke? The infamous Joe BLM tweet is a major sour note. The Reno reset squandered our best timed message against the lockdown. So I feel like Sam is upset on both sides of this, right? There seems to be like a Joe BLM side that was sour to his point. I think it's true. It was sour for many people. And then the Reno reset didn't deal with the lockdowns, right? So I think both sides kind of, in his view, and I would agree, kind of dropped the ball here. So how do we then, or can we even repair this, right? Can we repair this? Is it repairable? How do we deal with this?
Well, I mean, I think for me, what the split in the party right now feels like a left-right split. And for me, as a libertarian, I don't really see myself as left-right. I see myself as anti-government, and that libertarians should get behind anti-government instead of left-right issues. We should be getting behind reducing the state, reducing the government coercion in our lives. To me, that's the most important thing. And the left-right paradigm is already being fought out by the two major parties. Why do we want to get involved in that in our internal politics? It's like we're too small for that, and it's like there's this like suppression almost within inside our own party, which is the thing that we find hypocritical of the two major parties, yet we do it on the on our own internal process. And so the messaging, unfortunately, I think no matter what candidate you get, you're going to have an Aleppo moment. You're going to have a Joe Jorgensen. You're going to have a Joe Jorgensen BL moment. They're going to say something that you're not going to like. That's pretty much the case, because nobody's going to be 100% your person. No one's going to be 100% representative of you. But I guarantee you, any libertarian candidate, from any faction, from any area, for me, is going to be better than either opportunity from the duopoly. Like they're going to represent me far better, because I know that if you're a libertarian at the core, you want to reduce the state, you want to reduce government coercion in your life. And that's what I'm all about. And I'm not really about the left-right paradigm.
Will says, starting early is prudent, because we all know that campaigns need money to fuel success. Yeah, and more time gives you more time to ramp up cash, right?
Yep.
Getting donors on board, getting more people on board, moving forward, all those things. I completely agree. Absolutely. I completely agree. So let me move to the next piece if I could, and that is taxation.
Yep.
Libertarians always talk about tax, right? Always talk about tax. You are talking about the fair tax.
Yep.
And I think some libertarians are on board, some aren't. But also the average American thinks that fair tax means, the rich pay more, right? That's it. Like, give them a higher, that's fair.
Yep.
And they also don't know the difference between a fair tax and a flat tax,
yep.
right? The average American, libertarians know, right? But the average American does not know the difference. They go, oh, is that fair because it's flat? Is it flat because it's fair? They have no idea that there's even a difference.
Yeah.
So could you tell me why you picked fair tax?
Yeah.
And
yes. So my ideal, first I got to talk about my ideal. My ideal
Okay.
is the least amount of taxation, preferably zero, would be awesome. That would be, if I had
Yep.
a magic wand and I could
Yep.
make the taxation disappear overnight, I would make it all disappear. I don't like taxes. I think they're a drain on productivity. They're a drain on your resources, and they steal money out of your pocket, which is unnecessary for most parts. But the reality of it is we don't have a magic wand. We're not going to wave it away. And so I'm willing to vote for anything that cuts taxation out of our lives, incrementally moving in the direction of that ideal of zero taxation. If you tell me, hey, I'm going to cut payroll tax by 50%, I'm signing it. Right. If you tell me we're going to get a flat tax and we're going to get rid of all the, IRS tax code, I'm signing it, because the tax code right now.
So hold on, to be clear,
Yeah.
You're not right now advocating for flat tax, but you're saying if that came up, you'd be okay with it.
Well, the fair tax was first introduced to me from Gary Johnson's campaign. His first campaign, He talked about the fair tax, and that was the first time I ever saw it. And I read up on it, and I instantly fell in love with the idea, because it just seems so easy and transparent, and it got rid of all the ability for Congress to enact favoritism to the rich and the corporations.
Can you explain the fair tax for some people who are listening who may not know?
Yeah, so essentially what it does is abolish the IRS, which is like, woohoo, yes, baby, right? Like I'm all about that. I loathe the IRS. I've been audited many times, and they're just, once they get their claws into you, they don't let go, and they just make your life absolutely miserable, right? And so one of the main things is I don't think anybody should ever have to go through that. And the fair tax eliminates the force mechanism of the government, where they have this army of people with guns that tell you must do this, right? That's
so it eliminates income tax, you're saying?
It eliminates the income tax and replaces it with a sales tax, a nationwide sales tax. Yeah. And so there's a lot more complexity to it, but that's essentially it. And the main part that I really like, as I said, is it abolishes the IRS. And right now, Congress uses the tax code to grant favors to the rich and the corporations, okay, and for political favors, okay. And so if we get rid of the IRS, if we get rid of the tax code, then they can't grant those favors anymore, which is part of the corruption, which is, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you don't like corruption in your Congress people, right? And so this is one way to reduce corruption in Congress, in my opinion, and make the system more fair and transparent and easy to understand. There's 70,000 something pages of tax code right now.
Yes.
Look, my accountant doesn't even understand all the tax code, right? Like there's tax attorneys that's their whole job, and you say, oh, did you know that you can do this with the tax code? And they just look at you blankly, and they're like, oh, that's not my area of study, right? It's
right, exactly. Yes.
Well, I mean, no, the tax code should never be that much. And I was watching something where they said that there was like 8 new pages of tax code being introduced every day during every Congress. So it's just growing exponentially. It's getting more and more complex. It's getting more convoluted. Everybody talks about the loopholes. Well, the loopholes is the tax code. So if you abolish the tax code, you abolish all loopholes. There's not going to, you're going to know exactly what everybody's paying, right? And so is this my ideal magic wand moment where we abolish all taxes forever? No, but it gets us as close as possible. And this is a bill before Congress, and for the first time in 20 years this year, they're going to debate it, right? It's always died in committee. It's never been debated. And
absolutely.
So this is a major talk on Twitter every day right now. There's massive talk about the fair tax, but what's really got
So hold on, but the
yeah,
thing that I think I like about this too, though, is right. If you're on the right, you're going to say, well, great, we're getting rid of income tax, right? Good. If you're on the left, look, the rich spend more, so the rich pay more.
yeah,
Right? By default, they buy bigger stuff, they spend more money, they're gonna pay more tax. So I feel like I'm kind of making both sides satisfied, right?
yeah.
The right, you get rid of your IRS, which you hate, and the left, well, the rich are paying more.
I wish that was the case, Larry, but what I've kind of found now with on Twitter the last couple weeks with this becoming a national thing, the Democrats have come out heavily against this, and they're pushing a propaganda about how bad it is and how anti-progressive it is, and they're literally not talking any of the points of all the things that make it a progressive tax system. They literally are just attacking it, and the reason they're attacking it because the Republicans are ones that presented it. Right?
Yes.
It's like I literally am having arguments with people on Twitter and they're just regurgitating what the news has said to them, and I'm giving them links to the actual bill, and then I'm telling them like read this and do. People don't want to read it. People don't want the facts. They don't want to have any it's like talking to a brick wall. They're like, well, the Republicans said this is good, so it's bad. Guaranteed. I'm not even gonna look into it. I'm not gonna have an informed decision. Republicans said good, it's bad, right? And so I've been having I had actually a talk with a Bernie Sanders supporter this morning, and I think I got him to kind of flip a little bit and finally like be like, okay, well, at least I'll look at this, right? Because I kept answering all of his problems. He said, well, it harms the poor. And I said, well, they have a prebate that gives money to everybody so that no one pays tax up to the poverty level, right?
Right.
And then they said, well, then it hurts the middle class. And I said, well, I've run the numbers on people that pay $50,000, that make $50,000 a year in tax, and you actually pay less taxes even with the sales tax. If you make $50,000 a year, you pay less taxes with the fair tax than you do.
Right, because then rent would not be taxable then, right?
Right.
So rent's not taxable. Right now, the income that you pay on your rent is pre-taxed.
Yeah.
Right before you pay it. In this case, your rent's that's just your dollars goes. You'd only pay on other stuff you buy, not things like rent and necessities.
Unfortunately, most people don't have the ability to look that far ahead, and they just the talking point right now is Republicans want to pass a 30% sales tax on everything you buy, and so you're not going to be able to afford anything. But they leave out the fact that you're not paying any income tax out of your check. You're not paying any Medicare or Social Security out of your check. That stuff's all paid for by the sales tax. So you're not, and then they're like, well, you're getting rid of Social Security and Medicare. And I said, no, this tax system is revenue neutral. It makes the same amount of money as the income tax. So we're not talking about spending right now. We're just talking about the income side of the ledger, right? And the ledger is the same. But this way, you know that there's no loopholes. The rich guy isn't going to be able to go out and buy a Lamborghini and like hide it from the government, right? Because we already know how hard it is when you buy a car. You have to go to the DMV and register it, and the DMV has already hooked up with the dealer, and they're like, no, you're paying the tax as you write the check, right? Like, it's not. There's no, and this system is awesome because all the people that are like tourists to America, they become part of the tax system, because they're buying stuff here, but they don't live here, right? So now they're paying tax into our taxes. So you're getting some of that money. And then all the money that'll
help New York City out for sure. We get lots of tourists. Yeah.
And then all the money that is like basically earned illegally and not reported right now, like all the people that are doing under the table work or are, selling drugs or whatever it is that is illegal at the moment, right? All that stuff is taxed because those people still buy stuff. It's not, they still go to Starbucks. They still go to, so those people all become contributors.
So even if I make my money on the black market, I still buy other things on the regular market. So the money is still taxed.
Not only that, but if you are an immigrant or an illegal alien or whatever, you're going to still be also paying into the tax system because you're still buying stuff, right? So
you're still buying stuff.
So this is an equitable system because everybody is paying what they are supposed to pay, and there's no questions about it. There's no loopholes in the system. So it's just really, I really enjoy it. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not a panacea. It's not like, oh my God, we have to have this, but it gets me to all the things that I want to do, which is basically a transparent, easy to understand tax system that has no tax code and has no ability for Congress to manipulate and grant favors to the rich and the corporations.
Love that. Joseph says the libertarian movement is cool, but I detect that libertarians are anti-cop a little bit. Is that true? This is a tough one. What you'll hear me say, and Lars, you'll obviously have your own point here. I'm not sure, Joseph, was this question for me or for Lars. Let me field it first, if you don't mind, Lars.
Yep.
I've been on record saying this. Cops are just people. They're just trying to do a job. So cops aren't better or worse than any of us. If you have a crappy system, you get crappy results. You have a better system, you have better results. I've always been about police reform, right? So am I anti-cop? No. Am I anti-worshipping cops? 100% yes. 100. So if that's your issue, that libertarians don't worship cops, that's 100% true. Now, don't get me wrong. Some libertarians are anti-cop, but some Democrats are anti-cop too. So it depends upon who you are. So you will find anti-cop libertarians. They absolutely exist. But I think most libertarians who are running for office, they just don't worship cops. They treat them as people. So treat them as everyone else. I remember I was in a debate years ago, and they were saying, well, shouldn't we have special punishments for cop killers, right? So shouldn't cop killers get a death sentence in New York State? And I was like, no. You know what? Why not? I said, because they're humans like everybody else. If you lose somebody you love, you don't go, oh, well, at least my son wasn't a cop, so now I feel better. No matter what, if you've lost somebody, you have pain. You hurt no matter what. Yeah. So no, the sentence is the same for anybody. The cops aren't better or worse. They're the same. So I don't know. I didn't even take too much, but I don't know if that question was for me or for you, Lars. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think, with all things, when you lump a group of people together and you label them a certain way and you don't judge them on their individual merits, it's a form of bigotry, right? It's like each person needs to be judged on their individual merits, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or what religion you belong to or whether you're a cop or not a cop. There's good cops and bad cops. There's good people and bad people. You have to be and so I judge people on their individual merits. I know some good people that are police officers that they really believe in their mission in life to help people, and they're good people, and they're not, and they are also feel constrained by the system. They'll tell you, like, I want to do this, I want to be helpful in this way, but the system forces me to be, not compliant in that way or whatever. And so, I feel like with cops, basically, like what you said, we have to treat them the same. If they are bad people and they do bad stuff, then they need to be treated the same as somebody who does bad stuff, right? There's no special deal because you're a cop, you get off for being a jerk, right? No. It's like, no, it's like you get the punishment like everybody else, right? So I wouldn't say I'm anti-cop. I wouldn't say I'm super pro-cop, but I do feel like we need some legal enforcement to help keep the system from just abandoning into
better system
into utter chaos, right? Like we need a system, and so that's where I'm at on that.
I agree. So Thomas is on your side. He's abolish the IRS and all the other alphabet agencies.
Absolutely,
you're not going to get any argument from us. Yes. Will is also saying can't disagree with Lars on taxation. If we can't wipe it out in one fell swoop because of fear, then incremental decimation of taxes is a good start. So you got some fans, Lars. You got some fans. Guys, if you like what Lars is saying, you can help him out. Follow him on Facebook at Lars for President. Follow him on Twitter at Libertarian Lars. Head over to his website at lars24.com, where you can sign up to either donate if you can. I know Will's like, I want to give him all my money. Don't give him all your money, Will. You can only give him $2,900. Don't go any higher, you get him in trouble. But if you want to throw him a couple bucks, please do so. Every little bit counts. If you're someone who can give 10 or $5, that's fine. He'll take every bit. It all matters. It's Facebook ads, it's flyers, it's mailers, it's all the things he needs, right? All those things matter. If you don't have cash, no worries. He also needs volunteers. He needs people to show up. He needs people to do door knocking, phone calls, social media warriors. He needs all of those things. So if you can do that, that's awesome. But something lightly right now, what you can do, you can just like this. If you like what's happening, click that like button. It does matter. Absolutely.
Yep.
So let me go to one more piece you bring up often, which is term limits. People talk about term limits often, and you just never know when and where there is one. We have term limits now for the president, but man, none for Congress or for judges.
Yeah.
Only the president's term limited. The Supreme Court judge is not term limited. The congressmen aren't term limited, whether they're in the in the House or the Senate. Tell me why you picked that one.
Yeah, this is a thing where there's a good debate on why term limits shouldn't be enacted, right? And I've gone back and forth with a lot of people on the argument on term limits. And for me, what it comes down to is that it's that choice thing again. Okay.
Mm,
Because the way that the system is set up right now is the incumbent has like an 80 or 90% chance of getting reelected, right? That's the standard. That's the
yep.
standard thing. And so my senator, my House person was Nancy Pelosi. Okay, and
Wow.
Nancy Pelosi's been in there for a billion years.
Mine's
right?
AOC.
Right.
Oh my God, we are both in trouble.
So you know the pain. So you know the pain,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
what
yes.
what the issue is that with that incumbency, no one's ever going to challenge that person. From like if you're a Democrat, you're not challenging Nancy Pelosi. It's never going to
Right.
happen, right? So she is guaranteed to be in there. And in California, where it's like 80% Democrats, she's always going to win. Like so
Yep.
when you say, oh, well, one of the arguments for term limits is, oh, well, people have a choice, they could vote her out. And I said, well, but if there's no one ever running against her,
Yes.
what choice do you have, right? And so
Hold
because
on.
of the
Let me give you a little thing real fast. Just a little note here. In my district where I am, in my local district for my state assembly, the Republicans haven't even run a candidate in like 10 years.
yeah
There's no other candidate. So just whoever the Democrats put up is the assembly person. There's no other candidate. And the last time they ran a candidate was about 10, 12 years ago. That candidate lost by 70 points.
yeah
7-0, not 17, 70 points. So I totally get what you're saying. I just wanted to reinforce it. Go ahead.
yeah but that goes back to the ranked choice system, right? The ranked
Yes.
choice system, the term limits and ranked choice need to go together, in my opinion. They
Got
both
it.
need to be enacted, because the ranked choice would allow for more competitors to come in and say, hey, we're going to challenge you, Nancy Pelosi. We may not win, but at least we're going to show up and try to, and if nothing else, our messaging is going to hold you accountable a little bit and change your mind. And if people don't believe that that's true, look at what Bernie Sanders did to the Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders came in and his messaging was, fairly left, and he drew the whole party more to the left just because he had such a big following, and they basically had to make concessions to him. Just like with the new Speaker of the House, they had to make McCarthy. They had to make concessions to him,
Right.
right? And he had to make concessions to the other people, because when you get these people that are on the fringes that have a large audience and a large voice, the parties have to pay attention to them, right? And so this ranked choice voting would get that in there. And then for term limits, it's like you said, we have term limits for president, right? And I can't think of any president in my lifetime that I would like to have seen been in there for 40 years. Could you imagine Carter?
Right.
Could you imagine Carter president for 40 years? Bush Jr., Bush Sr., Clinton, Trump? Would you imagine, like, if how bad would the Democrats feel in life if Trump was just nominated over and over and over again for 40 years? People would feel so oppressed. There would be riots.
Yes.
There would be
Well, think about how young both Clinton and Obama were.
Exactly.
They were young. Clinton literally could have been president for 40 years. Obama, I mean, they're young enough. They could have been president for 40 years. You're totally correct.
Yeah, and it's likely that both of those guys would have been elected more times than what they were, right? And so as soon as you have term limits, then you mix the whole bag up again, and you mix
Right.
the whole, and then everybody gets to restart the playing field, right? And so there are negatives to term limits. There's this idea of institutional knowledge, that you can't
Yeah.
just show up to Congress, you have no idea how the system works, and now you're going to run the country. And I get
Right.
that. But the thing is like the term limits that a lot of people talk about is 12-year term for both the House and the Senate, right? And since they rotate, they wouldn't all be up for election at the same
Right,
time.
of course.
Okay. So
Right.
there's going to be senators in there that have been in there for 12 years. if you haven't figured out your job in 12 years and know how to run the show, then you
Yes.
probably shouldn't have been in that position in the first place, right? So
Valid point.
the senior members of the Senate help the newly elected senators to figure out the system and navigate the system and how it works and everything, and then they term out. And here's the thing why I got really excited about term limits. I went to Philadelphia. I went to Independence Hall. And I'm watching, and I'm in there, and it's where the first Congress was held, right? And there's like 30 seats or something inside there, right? And the lady said something to me that stuck with me to this day, and I'll never forget it. She said that the Congress people would come here. They all had jobs. They were bakers, they were blacksmiths, they were farmers, they were business people, whatever it was. And they came here to this Congress. They did their business because it was a service to America. Okay. And then they went back and did their regular jobs. Right. So I don't believe that serving as a politician should be a lifelong career. I don't think that serves anybody. The longer you're in there, the more likely it is that you're going to be corrupted. That money is going to corrupt you, that power is going to corrupt
100%.
you. You can see it. As soon as people get a taste for authoritarian activity, they tend to like glom onto that and say, we're going to just, it's for the good of the people that we're going to keep you in your homes for 3 weeks because that's what needs to happen.
And Lars, I know better because I'm in his position.
You see?
So clearly I know better than you do. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think when people first come into the system, you hear Justin Amash talk about this. When they first come into the system, they feel like, I'm going to change things. I'm going to Congress and I'm going to make a difference. And after like a year or two of being in there, they realize I can't do anything because there's 5 people that are controlling the whole system. And those 5 people have been in office for 40 years. They've gathered all the power.
This is literally AOC.
Yeah, they've gathered all the power up, and now there's no way to unseat them. And so term limits to me is just a way of refreshing the system, bringing new ideas and choice into the system. And I'm all about choice. That's my message over and over again, is that I just want to offer more choice to people to let us make our own decisions in life, right? That's what being a libertarian is all about, is like you get to make the decisions of what works for you. And the way the system is set up right now, and that's why libertarians are so pissed off, is because we don't have choice.
Correct.
We're foisted these same people over and over again. It's maddening. It's so frustrating that that's how our system works. And so that's one of the reasons I'm running for president, is to change that. Like, let's get some choice in the system.
The Elastic Giraffe says the puzzle is figuring out how to discourage political careerism without disincentivizing long-term solutions. By the way, welcome back, Elastic Giraffe. It's been a while since you have commented, so thank you for that. I think you're right, and I think what you've said, 12 years allows a person to be senior and then also to be an advisor later on to someone who's in there for 4. I think you could do both. I think you absolutely could do both, because to Joe's point, we've created an oligarchy. It's what we've created. We have created an oligarchy. I think he's absolutely correct.
That and crony capitalism.
Yes. Well, with that in mind, right? How in the hell are you going to make impact, Lars? You got this is a monster job, right? This is a heavy lift that you've decided to do. And we're admitting it's going to be tough. There's an oligarchy in charge. The duopoly is tough. How does a guy like you make impact?
Yeah. So I think, the Libertarians Party's been around for 51 years ish, and it's moving forward, but it's, it's kind of a slow slog. Right. And so what we, in my opinion, what we have to do is make noise. We have to make noise and get the media to be like, hey, what's going on over here? And so I have to kind of thank you for this idea, but you talked about putting all our efforts into winning an electoral vote. Okay.
Yes.
And so I kept thinking about that idea more and more. And I thought, Larry's spot on this, because if you're sitting on election night and you're like, Ohio's blue, Florida's red, California's blue, and then you're like, what is this? Why is this gold? Why is there gold on the map? Can you imagine the talking heads on the the mainstream media? And they would just they would talk about that for months. And the thing is if gold happened to be the thing that like swayed the election one way or another, I really don't care which way it goes, because to me, the duopoly is the party of the corporations. They're the same, in my opinion. So I don't really care. Right. But if we could be the deciding factor in the election night, holy crap, they would talk about us for 6 months straight, and people would be like, oh, what's that Libertarian about? Maybe I'd be interested, right? I mean, how I found the Libertarian Party was through taking the smallest political quiz, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about the Libertarian Party till I did that. So the thing is we just need to introduce as many people as possible to libertarianism, and we will grow the movement. And so one of the things I've been working on is this Lars 24 challenge. And the Lars 24 challenge is that every libertarian will promise to get one new registered libertarian voter between now and the 2024 election. And if we do that, we can double the size of the Libertarian Party in 1 year. And it's really not a hard ask, right? I've told a bunch of people and they're like, well, I already did it. I got my one guy. And I said, cool. Now you have one more piece to the challenge, which is to go talk to another libertarian that hasn't heard of the challenge yet and tell them about it, so that we can get, because we need to get the message to all 700,000 whatever registered libertarians, right? And so the only way to do that is talk to your friends and tell them about the Lars 24 challenge, and then we can double the party. So can we, if we do that, that's a huge change, right? And if we keep doing that and we get more and more new registered voters, it's kind of like a dam breaking, right? It's like it's a very slow trickle leak, but once the water's kind of flowing, the dam can break really quickly, right? And so one of the things that I've been also looking at is that we've had a lot of defections from the duopoly.
Yes.
Okay. There's like 5 people that have defected from the duopoly. And I was thinking about it and I was like, if 20 people defected from Congress from the duopoly and became independents, the amount of power that they would have as a coalition, they would be able to block anything. So it's like one of the things I've been thinking of is like, well, we're trying to attack it from the outside. Maybe we should try attacking it from the inside. Maybe we should try getting Congress people on our team, right?
But I think this is what you're talking about, Lars, right? If you're able to make the impact that you're telling me you want to make, and I hope you're able to do it, my friend. I hope you are. If you're able to get out there and people see you, maybe get in the debate stage, whatever the case may be, that will, and get a gold, get at least a gold electoral vote. Obviously, I hope a libertarian is president in 2024. Obviously, I hope that. The reality of it is the odds of that are super, super, super slim. We get that. If it happens, awesome. I would love it to happen. But if it doesn't, okay. The other issue, but your point is, if you win that gold any place in the country, if you're able to get in debates to get your message out and people hear Lars talking, you make it valid for the individual who's already in Congress to go, you know what? I'm ready to be gold.
Yeah.
Because now gold is real. So I'm going to be gold. And I know this because when I was running in New York, I had a lot of people tell me they want to be libertarians. And they were active people in the assembly. They were like, we want to be libertarian. But a lot of we can't.
Because they
There's
can't win.
no infrastructure. We can't win.
That's right.
We'll
if you don't have an
everything.
if you don't have an R or D next game, you're not winning. And so they know that. And so they run in that thing. But there's plenty of people that believe in the same thing that we do, that anti-authoritarian and limiting government. And we just need to give them basically the cover to go ahead and run, right? We need to build cover for those people, right? And so we
100%.
need to make it realistic that they can win. And once we do that, like I said, the dam breaks, right? And it's like, holy crap! I made a meme with Ron Paul, and it says it's happening, and then it showed the defectors, right? Cinema and Yang and Amash and and those guys, and Gabbard. So there's quite a few of them, right, that are just fed up. And I think there's a lot of people that are fed up and they're feeling really bad inside Congress. And if we can just, give them the cover to switch, that would be huge, right? So then we don't have to necessarily win an election. We can just give them enough cover that they feel comfortable in switching. And that would be amazing, right? It's like, then we could get stuff done.
Guys, if you like what you're hearing, then do me a favor, click that like button, right? If you like it, click the like button. Don't be stingy. It's free. You can do it. Click that like button. But also, if you like what Lars is saying, please follow him. Follow him on Facebook, Lars for President. Follow him on Twitter, Libertarian Lars. Or head to his website, lars24.com. And that's Lars, L-A-R-S, if you are listening. Do that. And if you're interested in supporting him, throw him some money if you can, right? If you can do a monthly donation, that's awesome. Straight up donations, great. Whatever you can give is awesome. $10, $20. If you got all the big money, if you got the big bucks like Joe got the big bucks. If you got the big bucks like Joe, give him $2,900 if you got it, but not more than that. That's his max. Don't get him in trouble. So whatever you can give is great. If you're not in a spot where you can give, no worries. He also needs volunteers, right? He needs volunteers. You can sign up there at larsfor24.com. Help him out. Everyone that can help. He needs people in policy. He needs people on social media. He needs people to make phone calls. All the things required to make those steps. Lars, I want to say thank you so much for coming today. Is there anything special that you wanted to bring up before we wrap this up?
Well, I think I talked about the things that I wanted to talk about, but you know, people in America are just pissed off, right? It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum that you're on, and people are ready for a change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to offer a choice to people, and I want to offer a choice to people whether they're R's or D's or libertarians. I want to. So the things that I'm picking: term limits, ranked choice voting, tax adjustments, tax changes. These are things that Americans support. Majority, right? Like 60% of Americans favor ranked choice voting right now. And I think it was something like 80% favor term limits, okay? Some form of term limits. So these are things that appeal to all, doesn't matter what your party is, right? And so those are the things I'm focused on, because I feel like if we can appeal to both sides, we can draw more people in. If we focus on the things that are really toxic and really divisive and are really left and right, we're not going to bring people in to fix our messaging. And so I'm trying to appeal to a lot of different people, a wide audience of people, and get people on board, because once they're on board, you can introduce more ideas to them.
Right.
You can they'll be like, okay, that I kind of trust this guy. I trust what his messaging is, so I'm willing to at least listen to fair tax. I'm willing to at least listen to reducing the government, right? And so I think that's kind of the position that I'm taking, and I'm moving forward to.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Those of you who watched and listened, I appreciate it. Lars, thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all